Get more on this now with demographer and broadcaster Dr. Paul Morland, also author of the book Tomorrow's People. Paul, thanks so much for joining us. Why does Germany have this ultra-low birth rate?
Germany is really not unusual for countries in Europe and East Asia, which have hit modernity, which we can essentially define as high levels of urbanization, high levels of income, and at the same time see their fertility rates, the number of children per woman, go low and then very, very low. As people enter this kind of modern life, unless they have an ideology, a belief, a religion that informs them that having children is the most important thing and they prioritize it, then whether it's Japan or China or Macedonia or Britain or Germany, the fertility rate goes low. Now, in Germany, one of the problems is not just that it's very low now, but it's been below most of the rest of the developed world for a long time. And that means that there are very few young people coming through to the workforce. So you've got to think about what is it now? What are we building up problematically for the future, which is ultra low? And how low has it been for the last couple of generations, which means you've got lots and lots of old people, not enough young people coming into the workforce, too many people requiring pensions and healthcare, and not enough people paying tax.
So if it's at the bottom line, obviously there are lots of different reasons, but if finances and economics is at the heart of it, surely the best way is for government to offer an incentive for people having a second and third child. Does that work?
Well, first of all, the paradox is that as countries get richer, their fertility rates go down, generally. And then once they're low, the question is about their values rather than material wealth. Now, I think governments can do an awful lot. Governments can give child benefits. Governments can encourage women to combine education and working with childbearing by giving them rights in the workplace. There are a whole range of policies that governments can offer. But if that's not combined with a pronatal culture, if people have values and priorities that don't rate having children highly, then there's actually not much the government can do. It is important, however, that the government signals its intentions, because that is a good start. Whether those policies are effective or not, it's at least a good start if the government says this matters to us. That's how you start to change the culture.
How could this impact future migration patterns? We know that some countries in Africa, for example, still have high birth rates and they're living longer. So potentially there's a lot of people in Africa who could come to Europe to look after an aging population. Is that starting to happen?
Well, it started to happen a long time ago. In countries like Germany, Britain, France, we historically had a lot of immigration from other parts of Europe. In Britain, for example, from Ireland and Poland. Germany had a lot of immigration from Italy in the 50s and also from Turkey. But these are all countries which now have much lower fertility rates themselves. The living standard gap has closed. And so more and more countries who can afford to attract immigrants are having to attract them from fewer and fewer countries that still have a high fertility rate. The trouble is that those countries with high fertility rates are increasingly poor. They're increasingly countries where there's very little very low levels of education and human development. And so what we're seeing in Europe, across Europe, it's not just Germany, is where there is mass immigration, it's from countries with very low levels of economic productivity. And so it's not necessarily, it might be plugging some of the gaps in the workforce, but it's not actually helping the economy as a whole.